Today, I'm gonna make madeleines. To make madeleines, you need some honey, butter, eggs, sugar, both caster sugar and brown sugar, some all-purpose flour, and some baking powder. If you use self-raising flour, you can skip the baking powder. This is not a recipe I've developed myself. I'm using a recipe from one of my favorite restaurants, St. John's Restaurant in London, founded by chef Fergus Henderson. It's available in their cookbook, Beyond Nose to Tail. Let's get started. We need to melt the butter and honey together, so we're going to do that outside in the Simplicity cooker. You can use any type of solar cooker to do this. You're not limited to a parabolic. If you have a box cooker or a vacuum tube cooker, they will both do just fine. Beat the eggs and sugar until you have a thick, airy batter. We're gonna do this off-grid style. You can buy surprisingly powerful hand-cranked mixers today. This one is a simple, inexpensive model I bought at IKEA. You can also use a regular balloon whisk, but it will take much longer. We're now going to sift in our flour and baking powder. This will encourage the madeleines to puff up nicely. Carefully fold the dry ingredients into the egg and sugar mix. Remember the butter and honey we left in the Simplicity cooker? Let's see how it's doing. Smells lovely. Okay, so our butter is melted and mixed with the honey. So we're gonna bring it inside. Add the butter and gently fold it into the batter. We want to handle it as little as possible to avoid damaging the tiny air bubbles in the batter. Now that the butter has been mixed in, we need to let the batter rest for 1 to 3 hours in a cool place, like a cellar, cooler, or refrigerator. If you are off-grid, you can build a simple cooler by yourself, but that's beyond the scope of today's video. Next, we'll prepare the madeleine mold. I'm using a ceramic mold because it soaks up and disperses heat well. You will need to oil and flour your mold to prevent the madeleines from sticking. The best flour to use for this is rice flour. Other flours can encourage the madeleines to stick, which isn't much fun when you try to get them out of the mold. Fill each indentation in the mold with a small spoonful of batter. We'll bake the madeleines for 15 minutes in a preheated vacuum tube cooker, in this case, the Gosun grill. You can also use a good, well-insulated box cooker to bake your madeleines, but if the box cooker does not exceed 158 degrees Celsius or 248 degrees Fahrenheit, they will not brown well. You can address that problem by replacing your sugar with honey or corn syrup. Okay, the madeleines are ready. If you've got the flouring and timing right, your madeleines will easily pop out of the mold. If you like, you can dust them with icing sugar and serve them right away. That's all there is to it. Have you tried baking madeleines before? How did it go? Let me know in the comments. But on the other hand, once the water is hot, the vacuum tube retains the heat.